Good afternoon. Welcome to my channel, Watercolor Painting in the Afternoon. I'm Beth. I know it's been a minute, but I have been thinking about the things that I like to do sometimes at the end of a day when I'm tired and I don't really have a lot of energy to paint a big painting. And I wondered if the folks who watch my channel might also be wanting something like that. So I thought I would do a series of fairly short videos, maybe a series, I don't know. Depends on how my equipment holds out. But I'm going to do just a series of short videos, hopefully, that allow you to have an idea about what to paint maybe at the end of a long day when you just want to get your paints out and mess around with them and have fun. So I'm going to do a sky, a background. And you know, it's been hotter than blue blazes around here in South Carolina where I'm from. I don't know about you. I hear it's been hot everywhere. So I thought I'd do a winter scene and just maybe, you know, enjoy at least thinking about the cool air. What I have here is a mixture of indigo blue, and a little bit of yellow ochre to make this kind of almost greenish gray color. So I'll show you how that gets mixed up. That's going to be my trees. I'm going to use this for my trees because it's going to make that kind of spruce green that I want to make, that I want to use for my trees. And then this over here is more indigo plus a little bit of permanent rose to make it purpley, and possibly just a tiny little bit of brown to make it almost black. So we're not going to use black, but we are going to use this lovely purpley gray to fill in our sky. And I don't want a really super dark sky because I want my trees to stand out in front of it. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this and spread it around. And how do I want my land to be formed? Do I want my land to be formed in a kind of a hill? Maybe so. So you're looking at just a hill, and I'm not going to do anything fancy because I don't want this to be hard. I want it to be easy. So I'm just going to make a little hill right there. And this is, my sky is going to dry, I promise you, a lot lighter than this. So let's let it dry, and we'll come back and we'll put in our trees. Okay, so I went and dried that with a hairdryer because I get impatient, which might be why there's a little inconsistency with the wash, but that's okay. Don't do that if you have time. I've heard that many times before, and I always ignore it because I'm so impatient with myself. But anyway, what we're going to do now is start to put in some spruce trees, also known as Christmas trees. So I'm just going to add maybe a little bit more of my indigo to this green, and we can decide where we want to put our trees. I think I'd like to have one right here in the foreground. So I'm going to go ahead and make that my first tree, and I'm just swishing my brush back and forth because that's kind of how it looks. A spruce tree has these branches that come down, and sometimes they swoop up a little bit, you know, they curl up at the end a little, but mostly they just swoosh. And you can make swooshy noises if you want to. Make swooshy sounds, but I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. I want a nice big spruce tree right here. Maybe there's more, maybe it's going to come out further here and here. All right, and then let's come over to the other side and we'll pick it up there. I don't want it to be leaning, and I think it's leaning right now. So let's bring the stem, let's bring the trunk down this way. That'll take the lean out of it. And we're going to want some of these branches to come out at us, you know, so they're kind of coming straight at you that way. And I'm going to run out of my paint here, but I'll get some more. It's not too hard to make it. It's just indigo and just a touch of that yellow ochre. I like the yellow ochre because it has that little tiny bit of brown in it, and that makes the green more of an earthy green. So here we go. We're just going to keep going with this. Oop, that's too dark. Let's just water it down a little bit. It's okay. See, it's always important, and I didn't follow my own rule here, to make a lot of paint when you start so that you're not inconsistent with the color. It's never a good idea to have to make another puddle of paint once you've already started. It causes you to overwork it a little bit. Okay, so anyway, that's my first spruce tree. I'm going to pull the trunk down just a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. And we're not done with it. I'm just going to let it dry. And we're going to keep going and do another spruce tree, maybe kind of behind it back here. And then maybe a third one that's even behind this hill. How about that? Maybe I'll do the one that's behind the hill first. Let me make plenty of paint. I won't make the same mistake. Of course, you never know. It probably won't be enough. But we'll try. We'll try to make it enough. Put a little tiny bit of brown in it. Okay, let's do the one that's behind the hill. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to start right here. This time I'll go on both sides so I don't have it lopsided. You see how I'm pulling some of them straight down? That's because some of the branches are, of course, facing us. And I want, now I'm going to stop right at that line, right? Okay. I want some white space to come through. That's one of the problems if you have not done enough paint and you're having to put more paint on something like I did over here. I lost almost all of my white spots, almost all my negative spaces. So my bad, but you know, do as I say, not as I do. If you haven't learned that by now, it's important that you figure it out. Okay, let's do the one that's in the middle and kind of a little bit back from this one. So I think maybe the trunk for this one's going to be right about here, you know, right about there. That's another thing, you can put the trunk in first too if you're worried about making your trees lean too much in one direction. We're going to come right in front of that one. And come down like this. I want this branch to be on top. I don't want to. Okay, but I'm going to fix that in just a little bit. Let me come back here. In those places where it's dry, where it's already dried, I'm going to put just a few little touches of branches in there to indicate that some of them are in front of us and coming out at us. The same back here if I've got some dry spots. Alright, and I want that to dry now, and I really want this to dry all the way because I'm going to add some snow to these branches. Alright, now that that has pretty much dried, I'm going to take some Turner Design Gouache. This is a fairly inexpensive gouache. I don't buy terribly expensive things, you know that if you've been around. And but it's a good gouache, I think. It does a pretty good job. So I'm going to take some white gouache and we're going to put some snow on these trees. And that'll be just about all we do here. I'll put some shadows under the trees, but I'm just going to very quickly put some snow on these branches. And some of them will be coming straight out at us, and I want to put snow especially on the branches that are coming out from the tree that might have been snowed on first. So we have all these branches here. I'm not going to put too much on it because I don't want it to lose its beautiful sprucey color. But we can just, you can also use some dry brush strokes. You see the dry brush effect there a little bit? That kind of looks like real snow, I think. And we're just going to keep going with the snowy bits until we have put enough on there. Okay, I think that looks like a snowy tree. Put a little bit of water in my brush and pick up some more and come over here and do the same thing. Especially on the outside first. Let's just go ahead and do that. I think that maybe that's a good idea. Just do the outside first here. And then come back and do those branches that are coming out from the center. Get enough white on there so that it really looks like snow. Okay. I'm going to come back here and do the next one back. You can get a smaller brush if you want to, because after a while the marks will get too big for your tree. You want the marks to be smaller as you get further away. How about that? I think that looks pretty good. And we can now put just a few little quick shadows in the snow. And I think I'm going to take the same color that I used for the sky, and maybe maybe the shadows are coming down this way. We're just going to put them in there just very lightly. I don't need a real dark shadow in there to understand that there's a shadow. All right, so what do you think? I mean, that's it. Sometimes that's all I want at the end of the day, is just to sit down and do something simple like that. That reminds me of cooler days. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, please remember to give me a quick thumbs up and give me a comment if you'd like. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Happy painting!